And at a tournament, it's like, don't talk to me. Like, I'm kind of like on the clock.
In the
like,
zone,
this is my side hustle.
Yeah.
At least that's what I tell my wife.
Yeah.
To make it like a little bit more.
I'm doing this for our family.
Yeah, exactly. So I won a couple $100 this one time, and so here we go.
And welcome into Unstable Discourse.
Yes.
Yeah, boy.
Yes.
Yeah, boy.
It is episode 75.
Wow. That seems important.
I think so. Jason, why is 75 important?
Because when you start with 7 and then you take away 5, you're left with what number?
2.
2.
Right? And 2 times 2 is
4.
And 4 is the greatest number ever. And that's how that works.
Good number.
Nobody could refute what you just said. It's me, Alex, Seminary of Tailwind
That's some
Media.
Uncle Ronnie shit right there.
I'm here with Ryan Fancher of Unstable Disc Golf Gear.
Yes, sir.
Sean Callahan of Delwood Disc Golf.
Yeah, boy.
Jason Callahan of Bag of Tricks Entertainment. Wow.
Oh, God. After the last episode, I just had to get it out now.
Oh, no.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
All right. I feel so much better now.
I
feel that.
Well, I'm going to come back to that. We're joined today by Mike Conlee of Team Delwood Disc Golf and Team Latitude 64 and my future cardiologist.
Yeah. Right. It's warm in here now. I can't follow that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Feels good. Thanks for having me.
We also got the Queen of the Canyons, Sheila Callahan, in the house. We're joined by Mike today to talk about a couple projects and things you have going on. Coming back to what Jason was just saying, our last episode was squeaky clean.
Yeah.
There was not a beep track. No clown horns.
Did
We
we,
didn't even get
we
close.
truly behaved, like across the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't even think about it because we were so in the
It
moment
was
with it.
never even said. It was just unspoken. Like we were just good.
Listen, Jim's a godly man. We gotta
Exactly.
we gotta
Right, right.
respect.
Yeah.
We gotta respect the Lord.
Jim, don't listen to this.
Be on your P's and Q's.
You skip this episode. No.
We have had a few episodes that were done on somebody else's turf. And every time we do that, I think we're usually on our best behavior.
Yeah.
You go back and listen to any of the episodes that are not recorded either here or, just in one of our home turf, so to speak, you will see those are our, it's the
More relaxed.
It's the cleanest version of us. Always.
Guest house.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
the thing is we're in somebody
Yeah.
else's turf.
Yeah.
You got to play by their rules. If Jim was out there cussing up a storm with us, I'm sure it would have been game on.
I would have been like, yo, Jim rules.
Jim, get him in front of the mic behind the closed doors, and he's telling you things.
Jim does rule.
Jim still rules, no matter what. Jim rules.
Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about what we're going to talk about on the episode. So you have a course that is sort of in development.
Yes, near and dear to me since I just moved there.
And first off, where is that?
We're talking Heritage Park in Homer Glen, which is still in the greater Joliet area. Jason Poole likes to say, J-Town Disc Golf Club based in Homer Glen. Because that's where him and a couple of the other major guys are from.
Big time,
okay,
That's actually not. I wonder if Delwood might be barely closer to me, but Heritage is pretty close to my house.
Yeah.
It might be same distance because you're right there.
Yeah, it's not that far. 151st.
Yeah, but just
Google Maps.
not a lot of people think of Heritage when they think of the greater Joliet area.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's gone just a little, I wouldn't say downhill, but stagnant. And we'll talk a little more about it and kind of what we're trying to make it.
Hell yeah. We'll talk a little bit about your Latitude 64 sponsorship. We're going to also talk about your track record as an Illinois Open Series champion.
Oh.
And we may just learn where you keep your trophies as well.
No one knows.
I don't know why this is funny, but I'm super intrigued.
Okay.
Sheila knows something that I don't.
We know.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's fun because it's been under wraps for a while, and now things are starting to get a little loose. So.
Oh my God, you're building the tension so well.
Oh man, getting a little loose. Getting a little loose.
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
After we
Big
get to
Cat
those,
plays into my game, so that's fun.
Ooh, if Big Cat's involved, it's good.
Yeah.
We'll wrap things up with our Fantasy Frisbee Analytics Reconnaissance Tournament finale. We'll find out who won and who finished in last. It could be anybody. We'll find out.
Could be any one of them.
It isn't, but it could be.
Everybody lost this year.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we'll get into the mailbag. Before we get into all those fun things, let's start with what we are fired up about.
Fired up.
Sensual.
I didn't mention this before, but before we start, you're fired up where you were like,
Yeah. It was awesome.
it was okay. I put under that the sound effect of a lighter.
You can't even tell.
You
nailed
can't
it.
tell the difference. I muted it. I doubled the volume. Either way, couldn't tell that it was there. Your lighter impersonation was so spot on.
We were just talking before we started recording about how dudes during storytelling are really good sound effects guys.
That's right.
This is important.
So I can't
pretend like I'm going to sound like a lighter and not sound like a lighter.
It was good.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
So never pay me compliments. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you continue to do a different thing every episode, or does that become
that
is the
standard?
Perfect? Like, have you reached the pinnacle now?
If we have to reuse it every single time, that's fine by me because it is the
was
dry
good.
as well.
The dry
So
as well.
I don't know what else to do, and that was good.
It gave me a vibe as a listener when I heard the flame come in and
I did because it sounded so good. Yeah, I had added a.
Should I try to recreate it or use the old one?
Go ahead.
See what happens.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Fired up.
We'll see.
It was good.
We'll find out in post.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right, who's got something they are? Jason's hand went straight up. Jason, what are you fired up about?
Whose concert did you go to this time?
I got two things.
What's the best show? Here we go.
can't decide.
Is it the fact that you are just drowning in puss now that you have that chain?
100%.
I can't believe you managed to
smell my
climb
eyes.
away from a mountain of women to get here to do the show.
Smell my eyes.
What is? Oh boy!
I have
Jim, please don't listen.
Sorry, Jim.
Yeah.
not only the greatest TV show of all time to talk about, but I also have the greatest video game of all time to talk about. Ryan, you decide. Where should I start?
TV show, because you've done that, and then we'll end with video game.
Excellent. Greatest TV show of all time is a little show called English Teacher. If you guys aren't watching English Teacher, get on it. Past guest of the show, Brian Jordan Alvarez. His show, technically, he was on Unstable Discourse.
He was on our show.
He consented
Wisconsin.
Yeah. And
Wisconsin.
it has been, as far as comedies are concerned, it has been a minute as far as I am concerned where something worth watching has been on TV.
Amen.
And this show is without question some of the best written dialogue, some of the best acted dialogue, and some of the wittiest and best comedy I've seen on TV in a very long time.
I heard it checks all the boxes.
Could not agree more for the record.
What network or platform is it on?
Network.
Try it again.
Yeah.
Just try it again.
What platform is it on?
You can find it if you want to watch it live as it is on. It is on FX. And all FX shows, I believe, are streaming next day on Hulu, I think is how that works. And then Hulu is
Tuesdays on Hulu?
Yeah, I think. And then if you have Disney, you also have Hulu, which means you also have Netflix or
ESPN.
FX and ESPN and all that crap. So it's on a lot and definitely worth checking out.
FX is a network to trust. They know good stuff.
They know good stuff. Couldn't agree more.
All right, we're
Can I follow up? Can I follow up with some details on the show because I also feel the same way.
Yes.
Some of the best music choices I have seen in television in a very long time.
Like the best.
If you are anywhere near my age and you like comedians, watch. You'll understand. And as you were bringing up the show, I was thinking that the last time that I saw anybody do this type of comedy this originally was like Kevin Smith, where there were so many homages to things that have come before us that Brian is doing so well.
Yeah.
That if you're into that type of thing where it's like nostalgia, this is your show.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're over wokeness, this is going to help that big time.
From a very ironic point of view at the same time.
Being over wokeness without shitting on it. Like, that's such a fine line. But
it's so hard to do.
Straddles it perfect. It's so good.
That's what she said.
Love a good straddle.
So we're going to transition out of TV and into the world of video games. Because there is a video game that I am now willing to admit in front of y'all and Jesus. I am a video gamer.
We know this.
Is it one of those?
We know.
Like sex games? on the sea online?
No.
Is it
this
a new
is
game
not.
or an
as
old
much
game?
as it.
Hi,
this is a
Jason.
new game.
I'd
Okay,
like to
that's
be
impressive
your new
because
friend.
sometimes we rely on just playing old games because we can't. We don't have enough
I
time
do
to get
that every
new
once in a
ones.
while.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
revert
I'll fall
back to
back
what
on
you
an
know.
old classic.
It's
Yes,
a
this is-
remake of Leisure Suit Larry, is what it is.
Have we already talked about it? No, it is not.
No.
It is a game called Animal Well. This is an indie game. It is on Steam. I played it on Switch, and it, like, as of days ago, just went up on Xbox as well. No backing. It's just a dude who made this game that is so small that if you took a picture of your screen with your cell phone, the amount of data to make the picture exceeds the amount of data required to download the game. But it is so incredibly layered in a way that I have never seen a video game. There's no Jolene at the end of this, by the way. I can already see it in your eyes where
I was
You're kinda-
hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah,
So if
okay.
there was, then
there's not.
Yeah. All right.
Ruin that one.
So-
That's exactly what he
Yeah,
would
maybe
say
that-
if there was a Jolie.
Yeah,
coming.
That's true. That's true. So
He's on my
there
trail.
is a genre of video game known as Metroidvania, and it is games that kind of harken back to like Super Metroid. Okay, that's kind of the pinnacle of. That's one of the best games of all time.
I was giving you the Harkin.
Yeah.
Good job. Good word.
So
That's a nice.
this game starts off. I will get through this very briefly, but the world that this game exists in will just blow your mind. I'm telling you, absolutely download.
So it's called Animal Well. You are a guy that has a well, and you're just
throwing animals,
animals into
until
this well.
it's full.
Yeah.
No.
well full of pigs.
The screen starts off in this like cave, and
I threw a squirrel.
it's all like 16-bit. You know, it looks like an SNES game. So this game starts off in a cave, and there's a pod, and it says press A to release out of the pod, and the pod opens, and your character pops out, and you're just this little circle.
Spoilers.
Yep, you're just this little circle with feet and eyes. And that's it. That's your character.
Tamagotchi.
A little bit like a
There you go.
Tamagotchi.
All right.
Yeah.
Feed them.
Feed them.
Feed the beast.
Clean up that poop.
You realize that all you can do is kind of like move around this cave and jump, and that's it. And then you start to find things along the way, and I'm gonna tie it back into disc golf, because one of the first things that you get in the game is a disc, and they don't call it a frisbee, they actually call it a disc. I believe that the indie developer is a fan of disc golf and decided to call it a disc.
Okay.
So that's one of the things you do, and you realize that the disc has multiple purposes throughout the game. Blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. You figure out, there's no dialogue, there's no nothing. The game just starts, and you're like, start pressing buttons and just see what happens. There's no instructions. There's no Mario 1-1 where it tells you like, oh, when I do this happens. Nothing, right? So you figure out very quickly that the point of the game is there is this spot in the map where there's 4 empty vessels, and you can see on the map that there's 4 fires on the map. When you go, there's a blue fire, purple fire, orange fire, red fire, whatever. And you quickly figure out that the point of the game is to use the stuff that you collect along the way, a yo-yo, a top, the disc, a bubble wand. You use all these tools to find the fire and bring it back to its appropriate vessel. And then when you do that, it opens up the final level. You play that level and the game is over. That portion, even without any instructions, probably takes 8 hours or so. You roll credits, but along the way, I kept finding all these eggs. And there's a section of the map where it showed that I was collecting eggs, but I don't have all of them. Then the game starts over, and now you're exploring the world further to find all 64 eggs that are hidden within it. Because they're in these little chests that are along the way. And you find these chests, you open them, and all the eggs have names, and you're like, okay. Then you're doing like another 16 plus hours of gameplay finding all of these eggs.
They gotcha.
Then it starts over again, and there's more levels to it. I won't get into it because I'm only 2 rounds into this game, but I'm telling you, no other video game has sunk its fangs into me as much as this one has. I think about it when I'm not playing. There's all these like things in the background where you're going through this level and you realize the hieroglyphics in the background actually meant something. And then you have to take a screenshot of the hieroglyphics because when you get to this point, it is one of the most well thought out, brilliantly executed, nostalgic. It's an absolutely
animal well
game.
thought out.
It is animal well thought out. Yes.
I'm getting
highly recommend this game.
I watched you play back in the day, 30 some odd years ago, A Boy and His Blob. Was that the game?
Yes.
And I'm getting vibes of
for sure.
And that was NES. I don't think that was
NES.
SNES.
Yep. Yeah. Imagine that upscaled to like an SNES type game. It's fantastic.
Okay.
If that even sounds like it might satisfy an itch a little bit for you, worth it. Thank me later. Fantastic game. I love it. Giving them a shout out. Check it out.
Neat.
Sounded a little like quantum physics. Well,
Yeah.
we were talking about earlier. It was getting a little quantum physicsy
Yeah.
near the
I'm
end
telling
there.
you.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then once Sean said a boy and
For
his
me.
blob, I started to think
for me.
that would be a great title of the story of the Preckham story of the boy and his blob.
The boy and his blob. Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Please, God, no. Let it die.
Forever shall it live.
Yeah.
Mike Conlee, not to be confused with Mike Apostolou or Mike Krupika
Or Mike Strauss.
or Mike Strauss.
Mike Conlee Jr., basketball player.
Oh,
You scared me. I was like,
This is not an announcement. This is not an announcement.
We've had announcements.
That
on the
name
show
has been
before.
forbidden too, so we're good.
yeah. Okay.
What are you
By
fired
me
up
and her,
about?
so it's good.
Yeah.
Not a lot gets me fired up, but I am advocating for something as of lately. I'd like to share with you guys
Please do.
that I thought about a few days ago and driving here, and I've thought about a lot the last couple weeks.
Advocating up.
Advocating up, and it's gonna sound bad. I have a stop sign hack.
Oh,
I know this is touchy subject, but you guys,
is this one of those like unethical life
you guys
hacks?
are the perfect ones
Did
to bounce
we not
this
just
off
talk
of.
about cars flipping over in your neighborhood?
We did, right?
Okay.
Ooh, okay. I got to be careful here.
Yeah.
This is a low speed hack. This is a low speed hack.
Okay.
This is not a high speed hack. But I've only been able to discuss it with the middle-aged women I work with, so they can't seemingly appreciate it.
Are you saying?
Yeah. You're middle-aged, dog.
Relax.
Take it
You're
easy.
Right. God dang it.
Yeah.
Time keeps going on. So I'll make it brief. Tell me what you think. You pull up to a stop sign, but you're behind somebody. That person, chronically, and I admit to it, I say 90% of the time, I stop over the line.
Sure.
Like everybody. You know?
Yeah.
So if the car in front of me is stopped half a car length over the line, and I'm stopped half a car length behind the white line, when that car goes, if it's no one else's turn to go and it's my turn, I am just simply following this car through the intersection, right? Because I've already completed my stop.
Yeah, no need.
Behind the line. I've
Your
stopped well within
your
a car
obligations
length.
have been met.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've stopped. And some people are like, wow, like that's like you're a horrible person. It's like, but am I breaking any rules?
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Okay then.
My sister-in-law came back to me. They were just like, oh my God, I started doing your thing. It's like, I'm
saving so much time.
Wait, what? I have a lot of things. So what thing are you talking about? She's like, I was like, oh my God, I'm behind this lady. I was like, vroom. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about it. I just did it. So it sounds like it makes sense to all you guys. So there you go.
Yeah.
Save yourself a few half seconds here and
For
there.
sure.
And I wouldn't say blow through the stop sign, but blow through after you've made a legal stop.
If there's nobody else waiting, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If it's someone
Yeah.
else's turn and they've gotten to the line before you. The line is still like it's my turn mark. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no one else there, or the person to the left of you is turning right and coming your way, and you're going, you're just following that person. So that's a fun one.
This is a new standard for things to be fired up about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Things that we're advocating for. So I'm advocating
Yes,
for you
it
to
is.
half break the law at a stop sign, low speed.
I don't.
Everyone can benefit from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Low speed.
come back next week and see like how many times you've done it.
Yeah.
It's gonna change your driving habits.
Yep.
I'm fired up about this now too.
Yeah. I'm glad. Good. Not a lot of people are.
And succinct. I love that.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
I mean,
You've done what you are supposed to do.
if I were,
I think
if I were to get questioned about it, it's like, well, really, did you see the guy in front of me? Like they stopped over the line.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I'm making
There.
up for them
Yeah.
going too far by stopping
Sure.
before the line. We're both good.
Oh,
Everybody's
granted, they
safe.
stopped and they crept.
Everybody's
if
safe,
it's a
yeah.
busy intersection, but
Crept. That's a good word.
crept.
Oh,
Crept.
yeah.
You can also stop and creep at the same time. That's a rolling stop, though. Now I'm not advocating for that. That's different.
Right,
I still do that, but I'm not advocating it for as much as this.
Yeah. Don't let the public
As
know
this
either.
half car behind
Do
stop.
as I say.
Cruise
Right,
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We are circling around a potential episode title somewhere, and you're fired up.
Also
Fired
circling,
up.
definitely circling the drain with this. But
Yeah, true that.
Sean.
As it has been
Yes.
in years past, it is always a transition to go from tournament season to league season. We have mentioned this in the past. League season is upon us. We are 4 weeks into Delwood After Dark. We are just a few weeks away from the new league Same league, new league, Saturday morning league at Delwood. I love going from one to the other and then coming around back again, getting back into that. So I'm excited for the transition. I think that Sheila and I have got some fun things planned for our new Saturday morning league. Some unique things that I think people will appreciate and vibe on, and I'm stoked for that.
Which is
we'll talk about it more. We'll talk about it a little more during Kelly Hollander rundown.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple more details. Yeah, just stoked for the transition. Tournament season was great. Ready to switch gears and do some different
league
stuff.
League season's good too,
and have fun.
I like league season too.
Yeah, for sure.
Different vibe. Still playing. That's half the battle sometimes.
I love being at Delwood, especially during a tournament, but I don't think anything compares to being at Delwood during a league. Like everybody hanging out, waiting for the round to start, or waiting for scores to come back in.
It's low pressure.
It's just it's my favorite vibe at Delwood is like league day. It's it's low pressure. Everyone's there really to have a good time. Like even the people who had a bad round are not like beating themselves up about it or anything. It's the best. If you haven't done it before, you fucked up.
Good vibes. Everyone's more talkative. No one's focused on. No one's putting. Putting their hand off before their league round.
Right.
Some people are. Depends on where you're at, but. I don't know. Delwood After Dark is getting a little crazy with sign up.
Popping off.
I thought of this yesterday.
Popping off.
And I've showed up at like 6. I did show up late once and got in barely. I was like, whoa, I don't want to do that again. 6:10, maybe at the latest. And I'm like within the last 20 people in.
I was counting heads last night.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah, you counted heads
and I was looking at you and I made eye contact and I was like, oh, sweet Lord Jesus. I've never told Mike Conlee no, not once. I ain't starting tonight, Lord Jesus.
I'm running for my life. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis.
But as sad as it sounds, like I'm a rationalist.
I think he's we're at 91. I think he's probably going to be 116.
Well, I saw Dana show up behind me, so I knew I was probably fine.
Yeah.
Lord, I got bronchitis.
I'm probably fine. But man, I thought of this driving to Glow yesterday. I was like, man, I show up to. Granted, I'm elsewhere throwing or putting in my backyard or something. I show up to some tournament rounds closer to my tee time than this.
Yeah, right.
And this is Wednesday at 6:15,
right.
7 o'clock p.m.
The 120.
And it's dark. It's dark out. We're just throwing.
I got to give a little shout out
frisbees into the
quite a few dogs that were there last night. 10 to 12 people or so that we had to turn away. We did do a harsh cap at 120. Jake Merchant comes to mind. Ezra Lemley comes to mind. Dylan Trudeau. Some dogs. Some guys that have been to all of the stuff. And if you're listening, I love you. But I had to cap it at 120.
I parked over by hole 5 and I went back to I just ran a sign up, went to get my bag, and there were some guys that had come back and they were talking about it. I don't know if they were in that group that you listed. And they were they weren't upset, but they were like, whoa, this is the way they were talking about. This is crazy. We gotta show up if we want to play. This is awesome. But wow.
Back to you, Ryan. What are you fired up?
I have a quick fired up. My daughter and I went and played some Delwood the other day for
you did.
The first official time where I actually entered her profile into UDisc and we kept score.
You didn't even tell me that.
You didn't tell me anything that was going on at Delwood that day because there was so much going on in the shop that we just kind of snuck out and played. We got through 5 holes and then she saw the playground.
Yeah.
And it was fine because after 5 holes, there were so many people there. It was was it the Saturday or the Sunday that was so nice last weekend that everybody was there. And it was really tough because obviously I'm letting people play through because she's 8 and she's throwing, 60, 70 feet at a time. We kept score for 5 holes. I think she 5'd hole 2 to the B, which is awesome. From the red, obviously she's throwing red tees, but she 5'd 2 and I think hole 5 from the whites. So she was doing great.
5?
Oh yeah. Well, there was no water, but
now.
She did stay dry. Yeah. It was great. She was having a good time. She wasn't getting frustrated. She was stoked at how far she was throwing and she was trying different discs and she was immediately
to ride a little bit.
Yeah. She was I like this one. This one feels better. And I was like, yeah, okay. You're not just chucking them. So it was great. That's all I had. It's just a super short little fun fired up.
That's rewarding. Yeah.
You know how in Kill Bill, in the first one where she kills Vernita Green and the daughter is there and there's the whole I didn't mean to kill your mother in front of you, but one day if you grow up and you're still sour about this, come find me and we'll settle this kind of thing. And now there's the rumor of there's going to be a Kill Bill 3 with the daughter coming back. I don't know if you guys know this, but
I saw a
Tarantino has talked about this, that might still happen one day.
Oh, nice.
That's what I was thinking about when you were talking about Nora getting good at disc golf and like growing up to have the actual showdown with Nora Bellotti.
Oh, there can only
the Battle of the Noras.
Yeah.
The 15, 20 years later, she's finally ready to actually have the showdown with
That
Nora.
would be cool. Yeah.
That's fun.
That's precious.
We're going to train for that. Hearts on fire. Yeah.
I was at Delwood recently as well, shooting some content for the thing that I'm fired up about.
Hey, Alex, what are you fired up about?
I don't need to be asked.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yep. I need to ask you to stop touching the microphone.
One day, you're going to stop busting my chops about this.
One day you're going to miss it.
I want you to
It'll
sit.
be the day you stop touching the microphone.
I want you to sit behind me while I edit all of those out.
So I was at Delwood to capture some footage for a reel that I was super fired up about. As much as I have my AI crisis in the back of my mind at all times, I also am like having a lot of fun with it too.
Lean into it.
So I gave it the prompt. I gave ChatGPT the prompt of like, you are a social media expert. You have the ability to create hundreds of content ideas off of simple prompts, create a whole social media schedule and calendar for a small business that, like, I gave it basically, give me all the social media content ideas that I need. And it gave me a whole list of stuff, including all the hashtags. It did like someone's whole job in a moment, and it was really cool. But one of the like recurring pieces of content that it suggested is course reviews. And I'm like, why have I not been doing that already? Obviously, I'll go to Delwood first. So I take that content idea and then I go to another AI tool that does like voiceovers. And so I gave it like, here's what I need. And then it gave me a David Attenborough voice doing like a welcome to Delwood Park. And it laid out all the sort of like perks of going there.
It sounded like we've spared no expense.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. And I kind of like fell in love with the script. I was like, but I have all of this footage that I've gathered over the last couple of years, but there was a few things specifically that I didn't have. So I went out to Delwood and I got those specific things to put together this reel that's like, here's what you might like about this course. Come check it out. And I'm like excited about that reel specifically, but also to do this for more courses in the area. Well, specifically the ones that I think are worth doing it for. We have so many courses in the area.
You gave Lake Arvesta a solid 2.5. I'm scared to see what you're going to give Delwood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
for the record, Jim, I gave Arvesta a solid 5. But yeah,
Jim.
I'm excited about some of the new content ideas that I have sort of in the works, and that reel specifically, I'm going to do the same kind of thing for like, hey, you're new to the area. Here's the magazine summary of this course.
Sure. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It did. And maybe that's what you're missing is people didn't know what it was for. Is there an event here? Is it something going on that I need to know that I missed? I saw it.
I like doing it, and I want to do more of that kind of thing. So yeah, that whole project was what I'm fired up about.
Cool.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Now let's get to the old Callahallander rundown.
Yes, sir. You know what time it is? The old Callahallander rundown.
The old one.
I've got a couple things I need to talk about.
Ye old.
Ye old.
It's old with an E.
By the time this episode comes out, we will be through another week of Delwood After Dark. So we will then have 4 weeks left of Delwood After Dark. We talked about it earlier. Y'all are blowing my mind a little bit with how much you love this league. The irony behind all of it is everybody's like, man, you must be so jealous that we're out there playing this league and y'all are just hanging out here. And I'm like, I actually don't like Glow. Personally, for me, I've never been a Glow guy. But what I love about this season is how hyped everybody gets to come out for Glow. And this season has just brought a whole new level to that. We are selling out at 120. As I mentioned earlier, we had to turn people away last night, which broke my heart. But there is a time constraint with which we have to do this stuff. I don't want anybody hanging around kind of giving me the look like, bro, it's 11:15 and I got work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we have to work within these parameters.
UDisc super helps with that, I'm sure.
I mean, to have gone into that realm now with UDisc, it is saving us 30 to 45 minutes. It is saving myself and Sheila a whole boatload of stress that happens when you are managing a scoreport and using paper and doing all of these things manually that these apps are doing for you. Speaking of, technology and how it can help. So switching to UDisc has been phenomenal. Back to the actual Calendar rundown where we are talking about how many more weeks of that we have. We got 4 more weeks. So come out to Delwood After Dark. Early, please. It sells out by about 6:30. Everybody starts lining up at like 5:45-ish, some earlier. Like people get there at like 5 and hang around and ask a few questions on what to do between now and then.
Knowing that they can just hang out and sneak in.
Yeah, exactly. So the ones that are showing up the earliest are certainly getting in and forming that line, capping it at 120. I think maybe going into weeks 5 and 6, it shouldn't be as crazy because that ace pot has been diminished. It was hit last night by a couple of people. One from Estonia. Shout out to Carl. And also shout out to Twisted Tea. Carl hit hole 6E and Twisted Tea hit hole 16. They split $1,526, I believe.
Jesus.
Taking home $781 a piece.
Is that Sean?
Sean Story.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Super fun night. We've got it, like I said, 4 more times by the time you hear this. Check it out. If Glow's your thing, it is the spot to be. Next up is the Saturday Morning League. We are going to start referring to it as. It used to be called Delwood Disc Golf Bag Tags. The reason why we are calling it a new name, Saturday Morning Leagues, is because we are no longer going to be doing the physical bag tag portion of the league. That was always something that it had a cost associated with it for the last couple of years. There were definitely some tags laying around afterwards that I was kind of tossing.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world, but first and foremost, it was adding to the amount of time that it took to complete each league. Yeah. And that was kind of frustrating for me, Sheila, and everybody involved, kind of sitting around and waiting for that. Also, UDisc doesn't have a beyond beta form of doing bag tags. So that was always the refusal that I had with UDisc, was that if I was going to have to do some things manually, then I wasn't going to do it. And now that I'm using UDisc, then I'm certainly not going to work backwards and do things manually. So Saturday Morning Leagues at Delwood. Sign-ups at 10, tee off at 11. This is starting on the second Saturday of November, which is the 9th. We've got some surprises. There's some marketing and things about the league that I want to wait for Sheila to be ready and post about. All I'm going to say is that for us, we like to have more of an experience, and we are leaning into some nostalgic things that mean a lot to us when it comes to Saturday mornings. I'm going to leave it at that. And I can see this growing into just phenomenal winter vibes throughout the rest of the year and into 2025.
Jason just got a huge speculation boner.
Yes, he did.
Man.
Yep.
And it is as accurate as you could believe. And so please keep an eye out for all of the posts and or marketing about that. We want you to come and hang out and be a part of the fun stuff that we always do. Saturday Morning Leagues. Smell. SML. So certainly there will be some fun jokes about this league name. No doubt about it. I am going to do the Kella handoff to my brother, where he is now going to talk about the trivia that he has going on. Jason, take it away.
Thanks, Sean. All right. As of this episode dropping, the earliest you could listen to it is November 1st. So I'm going to talk about what I got coming up in November. Every Tuesday in November, that is the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th, you can catch me at Ultra Brewing at 7 p.m. doing trivia there. That's in Downers Grove. You can reserve tables by emailing trivia@ultrabrewing.com. I highly recommend that you do. Just like you have trouble getting people into your Glow League, I have trouble getting people into trivia nights. So I fill them up. I have 120 plus people that show up for trivia, and sometimes it can be awkward when I have to turn people away because we've just run out of space. So you can definitely do that. Also, Wednesday, November 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, I am at Cellar Door at 7 p.m. That is very limited space. They don't do reservations. That is first come, first serve. I have to turn people away often at that event, but it is what it is. And also, if you're in the Lockport area, Thursday the 7th and Thursday the 21st, I am at the VFW Hall, 7 p.m., doing music bingo. That's a lot of fun. It's free. You can win cash at that event. Every round, you could win a minimum of $10, but I invented something for that round that I will talk about very briefly. It is I call it the big cash round, where there's one round of music bingo per night where any additional cards that you want to purchase and play on only cost you $1. It is totally unlimited. And what you are playing for in that round is whatever that purse builds up to. So normally you could win $10. I've had people win over $100. I know that is not $758 or whatever, but for 2 hours of music bingo that is free to leave with more money than you walked in with, that's pretty exciting. So you guys can come out to that. Bring dinner, bring friends, bring family, bring
fun.
I was trying to think of another word that starts with F, and we're going to go with fun. Thanks, Sean. And this was the Callahan.
Sean, you saved it.
This was the Callahander's rundown.
Callahander's.
Unofficially brought to you by
discgolfscene.com. Mike Conlee.
Yes. Oh, come on, Pete.
Yes, he did it.
Come on, Pete.
That picture has saved so many guests.
Good. I was used to saying, come on, Al. Come on, someone else.
No, come on.
Sorry,
Shout out again to Nora
Pete.
Bellotti for giving us that picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Saved.
Before we take a break, I'm going to come back to something you were talking about during your Callahander rundown.
Yes, sir.
It's almost it's not a whole subject. It's not like a whole episode's worth of conversation, but it's a little nugget that I think is kind of interesting. Doing away with the bag tags, like the physical bag tags.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because it does represent a bit of an evolution of how leagues are happening in disc golf in general. It historically has been like you have a crew of 10, 20, 30 plus guys, like your club. Those tags are really symbolic. Like they're really status type things. And like it's intimate. When you start to get as big as a league as DDG and you have 120 people, it has to operate more like a traditional sport league, I think.
Yeah.
So you don't have necessarily that same intimacy that you do with those like handmade tags that we may have grown up with playing with.
Right.
So doing away with it, I think makes a lot of sense, but it's like, it's cool to me because it's like, it's another thing we can point to in disc golf and be like, look, we're getting to that point where we have to operate the way like a lot of traditional sports leagues operate.
Sure.
And I think that's really cool.
I will say to that, and I have always loved and coveted the idea of the physical bag tag. I've always been a traditionalist. Jason can attest of like things that are physical. When the world became digital, I feel like I was like losing something. So like I like that idea, but so often we would be done with the league and I'm staring at the counter and there's 20 bag tags left. And I'm like, oh, cool, guys. I love you. And thank you so much for coming out. But like you didn't complete the thing.
And now it's on you to just
and now I'm just, putting gaff tape on the back of these and writing names down, which is fine. Like it's my responsibility as the leader of the league or what have you, a runner of the league. But it kind of got to a point where I'm like, maybe that isn't as important as fun vibes,
totally
sick payouts, sick tracks, changing up the track, these other things and other elements.
The full package of the player experience has to be considered.
So I was like, I think we could do without it. And then as we made the transition from paper to UDisc and UDisc not being fully prepared to operate within that, I was like, oh, well, it's kind of easy to just drop it. And to your point of like the bag tags being handmade. Ours were luggage tags. Like ours were like the farthest thing away from that. Like I think people maybe liked them and every year we switched them up and like did a different color combos so that we knew which color was which year. But yeah, I'm moving away from it. I'm stoked. And I think that the other things that we're going to bring to the league, I think people won't even, they'll be like bag tag, what? Like it won't even matter.
Yeah, it's just an evolution.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like it's going away for any reason other than you guys are doing so many other things with the player experience that like, it can't be as big of a piece of the pie when you have so much more to consider.
Right.
So the bottom line of
my mind went there too.
It's just a cool thing to me. It's look at disc golf going. It's going, man. Look at it go.
Yeah, my mind went there too. I mean, that's all we had. We talked about playing a long time ago and people that have been playing a long time. And it was like bag tag is what you looked forward to. And to say that some of these events and leagues and look at like flex starts and things like that are like a pipe dream. It's not even really a pipe dream. It's things that like we didn't even think of back in
the
2009, 2010. And I'm speaking for myself. I think of the guys that started playing in 03, 04, 05, and bag tags with dollar ace pots that sometimes build to $200.
What?
Yeah.
What? Over 30 weeks? And you're like, wow, I could like maybe hit a $200 ace.
Yeah.
And that would be like half a rent or something. But bag tags kind of have like some old school connotations to them, but like that's all we had, right? And like you didn't even think of what was to come. So that's kind of just the cool way to step back and look at some of these leagues is that way back when it's like, wow, I can't even think of playing disc golf outside in the fall at night in a park that I'm not going to throw into sticker bushes and thorns and stuff because that's how we all grew up playing at certain courses that you now try to avoid or got cleaned up and got better, but it's just crazy.
Yeah. When I was selling the number 252 tag to someone in November, it kind of takes away from the luster of the number one tag that I think of you, Mike.
It's crazy that I just gave you that. And now tags are kind of dead. Yeah.
You gave me the number one tag from the very first bag tag league. So how appropriate that like that's back home, but we're moving on to the next phase of this. So I think we'll make up for it in good vibes.
Yeah. And you have already.
I hope nobody takes the wrong. Don't
Not
hear
at all.
Don't hear what I'm not saying.
Not at all.
Like,
not at all. Totally.
I literally just think it's the coolest thing we can point to and be like, small groups are still going to keep doing tags.
For sure.
Like it's like when you have a group of 20 players in your club, tags should have to be part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, we have tags when we go to Sandy Point.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we have stuff like that.
Yeah.
We still do it. But,
Yeah.
That's never not going to be cool. But like disc golf is getting so big, it has to operate in like a way that considers a huge audience of players. That's cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of bag tags, we'll be right back.
Hey, dude. Ready to play?
Yep. But first, you got to see how totally dripped out my bag is.
Don't say dripped out. That is an insane amount of pins.
I got them from Nina at Disc Golf Pins. These pins have Riz.
Okay, definitely don't say Riz. They're great, but why so many?
It took this many to take my game from Skibbity to Sigma. Now my disc golf game is mad lit. I'm gonna get so many good...
I'm gonna go play somewhere else. The pins are great, but don't talk to me until you're done being so sus.
Negative aura, bruh. My bag is mewing. DiscGolfPins.com.
And we're back.
In use.
And that means it's time for us to get into the old gin and juice.
Wait for the song.
Let's start with Mike Conlee. Let's take
Why'd
this
you say
again.
it? Why'd you say it like that? Am I in trouble?
I was not
Oh,
thinking
man.
about
No,
where
I was about to roll with it because
was
like,
Michael Joseph.
let's think about the fact that
Are
we
you
have been doing
intimidated
this
by me? I'm not that intimidating.
for 75
that is
episodes, and we just now we're like, let's hang out with Mike Conlee, who's a legend.
So
I like that.
that's not the first time it's occurred to me.
Not the first time, but like it's taken so long for you to be here.
Yeah, glad to
And
be
I'm
here. Glad to be
so
here.
stoked that you
Haven't
are here.
pushed the issue, and but I got some other things to talk about. So
I've been against it the
I'm
whole
excited
time.
to talk about.
So.
Yeah,
The whole
I mean,
time?
some weeks me too. So you know,
Surprisingly, he's kind of a piece of shit, guys. So like, just so you know.
really pains you to have him as part of Team Delwood Disc Golf.
But no, especially during tournament season, you know, especially in years past, you know, sometimes you get on it and you're grinding, and you show up to events, and that's what you're doing, and you leave, or like you said with the league vibes, you know, league vibes are different. You know, you show up, you throw the frisbee around, you know, you throw the frisbee after, you hang out, or you get your bag tag, you get some popcorn or some cider or some cupcakes or some cookies or whatever was around yesterday. And at a tournament, it's like, you know, don't talk to me. Like I'm kind of like on the clock.
In the
like
zone,
this is my side hustle.
Yeah.
You know, at least
yeah.
that's what I tell my wife.
Yeah.
To make it like a
I'm
little
doing
bit
this
more.
for our family.
Yeah, exactly. So I won a couple $100 this one time, you know, and so here we go. You know,
Oh, you don't want me to go play disc golf? Well, then how are we paying for these diapers?
could have played golf. Could have spent $75 in lunch to play golf. You know,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
still been away for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Speaking of this being a side hustle, do you have any idea of your career earnings? You can see it on the PDGA website, but like
This is
The true plus or minus. You got it.
yeah.
No,
No, this
know.
is
I know
funny
you know.
because since 2017 or 18, and Garb makes fun of me, but I've actually tracked my incomes and expenses pretty Because I write them off. I write off my expenses.
Good.
My driving locations to and from get calculated into miles.
Wait,
my
under
entries.
what? Like, how is it justified as a write-off?
You can't go 3 years of a quote unquote hobby losing money and then continue to try and write it off. That's where your bookend is at that point.
You have
Tax law with Mike Conlee.
Yeah, you have to turn it into a business or stop doing it.
2017 and 18 is where I had my highest career earnings for sure, but I had my highest expenses that went along with, I'm going to Green Mountain, I'm driving to Green Mountain, I'm tagging on MVP, things like that. That costs money and where we're staying. Mm-hmm. But, I've had years that 2020 was a great year for me. This year with some bonuses and a couple of random tournament aces put me at like a net 2, 3, 4 grand. And those kind of like break up my quote unquote hobby to prove that I'm making some money on certain years. And then I can write off those expenses. So yeah, that's kind of how my accountant does it. But yeah, no, I can actually see I've spent, $1,500 in these areas and I've made $4,500 in these areas. And I put my donations on there, my driving locations, and just because I'm a little bit of a nerd like that. But
so
it's fun to see.
The number? Yeah. What's the number?
I do it by year. So I guess by the number, on PDGA, it's like 25,000, which is like a cool number to see.
Yeah.
But it's way more than that because you have unsanctioned events, you have bonuses, you have aces, you have things that All Golf Challenge is a good example. Right. That's a big money event for me.
You're a jacket owner, right?
Shout out Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, jacket. I got my jacket 2-time. 3-time on the Tom Woods. It's like little things like that.
All Golf Challenge for listeners who don't know.
All Golf Challenge in this local area put on by Dave Hopkins. His friend Pat, I think, is involved a little bit in it too.
Garb, is that a Garb thing?
Garb might be involved in it as well too. That one's singles.
Steve Ratchin.
That one, Steve Ratchin's definitely involved in that. Mm-hmm. That one's singles. It was no mini golf. Now it is mini golf. So it's 9 holes of golf, 18 of mini, 18 of disc.
And
Green
the reason
jacket.
it's cool, aside from like you're playing all the different kinds of golf, like what is the coveted like thing that you can win?
Green jacket, number 1, and nice little goblet trophy, which is actually a Pet Cemetery cat ash urn. Shout out to Brokovic and everyone knows
that's a great connection there.
Famously called the Pet Cemetery Boys, who I often flex with because they want to get it. I've told Charlie, I got the Pet Cemetery Boys come behind me. They're still on the clock. They told Buddy that they're going to bury something, and they're here playing disc golf. So yeah, the cat urn is in my window well in my basement, so that one's cool.
Yes.
So you're playing
that one. You keep that one.
You're playing Frolf, you're playing Balf, and you're playing Molf.
Yeah, Molf sounds a little dirty.
Molf sounds
dirty. Molfing around.
You want it though.
Yeah, it's but it honestly, it's still, I don't know. Hopkins give me some crap sometimes because it kind of plays into all my strengths, But
it does.
You were born for this.
This year I won for the second time, but I didn't have either of the lowest. I didn't have the lowest disc golf round. I didn't have the lowest mini golf round, and I didn't have the lowest golf round.
You were just
I was just right there.
Yeah.
I was right there. Good. But it's fun.
So when we take into account all those like unsanctioned type things like that, do you have a ballpark of your expenses accounted for, winnings? You think you're
year by year? Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, the only thing I'm really concerned about right now is career wins. I think is something that's come into my mind recently that I can look forward to. This is years and years and maybe decades down the road. I think it gets easier when you're above 40 and 50 and 60.
Are you above 40?
No.
I was going to say you look amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But and disc golf is changing, so those divisions are going to be a little more flooded than in years past. But and that's just a goal for me to we talk about. Oh, Sean called me a legend. I feel like I'm a veteran now, but I want to play in the Legends division, and I want to be like, you know who Pete May is? Can I shout out Pete May? Anybody know who Pete May is?
Mm-mm.
Is that what his name is? He's like a Legends champion. He was a lifelong ping pong master. He wears like the bucket hat.
Oh,
he's like,
I've seen him on coverage. Yes.
Crazy.
Oh,
he like just goes out there.
MP80 guy.
70 or 80.
Yeah. Cowboy hat.
Yes. Cowboy hat, not a bucket hat. Thank you.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
cowboy
but
hat.
but he's like, he will like whoop anybody at ping pong. And like that was his thing. But now he's just like some guy who has a reason to live, enjoys being outside,
right?
Enjoying a walk in the park, likes little quirky hobbies, and that's who I am. And so if it's time outside walking around in the park when I'm 70 years old, that's all it does for me.
Amen.
Like that's great.
That's
it can still do that, and that's how it got me into the sport. So I see it going full circle.
All right,
and
so as
I'm not
somebody
even there
who's
yet.
counting your career wins and is obviously very competitive, I'm going to jump ahead in this story here and ask about where your trophies are stored. Again, I alluded to this early in the episode. Sheila knows something that I don't know. I don't know if any of you guys know this, but what's the deal with where your trophies are stored?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is this a big secret? What's going on?
Not so much anymore, because I feel like I've gotten some people to tag on with me, and some trophies that have been visualized in some weird areas. But it started, I guess, I don't know. It's come in shifts, because I've gathered up. You get a trophy, you put it away. You get a trophy, you put it away.
Checks out. Come in shifts.
There
we go.
Oh shit.
Nurse jokes.
You put them away, and then you're like, man, I got all
nurse
these,
crowd.
You know,
nurse crowd. Love it.
It was like the first time I realized this. It's like 2012 or 2013. I've been playing for 4 or 5 years, and I got third place Shanahan Classic Intermediate. Third place Advanced, second place. Whatever. It's like, what am I gonna like put these up? Next to
as we're
my wife
in a
is very
room
accomplished.
With some of mine sitting.
I was gonna say,
in a case with a light.
I'm also
glad
just
I forgot to bring
Thanks,
the
Mike.
one that I was going to bring that I was very proud of, my second place MA3 trophy. And Mike's like, can you imagine?
Throw it in the woods.
Yeah.
Throw it in the woods.
Throw it away.
But no, I just had a lot of these, and I had them out, and they're like cool to look at. And I always have been into like geocaching and just like again, just walking around the park in like aimless locations. I mountain bike a lot. You really get out in the sticks and things like that. And I guess one of my first visuals of like somebody who supported me and like realized that I'm actually playing really good disc golf is Randy Moore Sr., recipient of the Gary Lewis Achievement Award, which will be handed out on Saturday at J-Town Fest.
Yes.
Man, he really got behind me early, and I always had this vision of him weed whacking on the riverside of hole 13 at Eagle Ridge, or the riverside of hole 6 at Eagle Ridge as well. And so my first couple of trophies ended up down there, because I always thought it'd be funny for Randy to just come across them. And he has, and he'll message me.
Are you saying you just stick the trophies in the bushes?
No, yes. For late terms, yeah. So pretty far down, under logs and stuff. A few of the Oswego Open trophies were cut out, treated like wood pieces, and they had the writing on the front etched in, and it's just literally out there like next to a hole but flipped over, and it's just like a piece of wood.
Little Easter eggs in the real world.
So I put Easter eggs at like some of my home courses, some of the courses that I frequent, and I'm just not really a trophy show off guy. I feel like you get a win, you get a trophy, great. Like I don't care about the trophy. Like the win is something that like it can't be taken away from you, especially when you win big tournaments and you work hard to like grind those last few holes, 9 holes, 18 holes, final putt. Like that's what I'm going to remember. Like I don't know. But I think back in the day, and not that I was like a proponent of this, if trophies were given out excessively, it was a first, a second, and a third for every single division. And I always thought that was overkill, because when you got into the higher divisions, you don't really, no offense to anybody, I don't want a third place like advanced trophy when I'm there, there to try to win,
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Especially when I'm like, my first thought after I finished the tournament is like, wow, like I could have won that tournament. Like I literally could have won that tournament. And at the end, especially in Open and stuff, Ileana Open last weekend, huge playoff, bunch of Delwood guys at the top. I could have won that tournament. Those 3 guys in the playoff could have won that tournament. Steve Ratchin could have won that tournament. Danny Beauchamp could have won that tournament. So our mind isn't really on where we finished at the end. It's like, damn, I could have won. I finished high a lot, but man, I could have won that event, So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's hard to not see eye to eye. Like completely agree with you. Are we giving out too many trophies?
Right.
Yes.
What a new yeah.
And I was saying, I think it's come down. I actually think it's come down, and I'm not like trying to be the guy, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw this trophy in the woods to show. I'm gonna show you. You shouldn't be handing out 3 trophies for Open.
It's just fun.
But like Krupika only gives out 1 or first place or second place. I feel like you only give out first place or second place, and I think that's exactly mirrored.
Ryan can
and what
exactly
the players
how
want.
many trophies we do every 3 weeks, and it's
This weekend 42.
Yeah.
It's become more, but because there are more divisions offered.
Yeah.
Yes.
But overall, the number of trophies per person has gone down, I feel like. Because when there are 8 people in a division and we're giving out first through third place in every division,
that's a lot.
That average, like, might as well just give everybody a trophy.
But I feel like ex post facto, you say, if I were to give only 1 trophy for your division and put the rest of the money into the pot, would you like that? I think 90 to 95% people would be like, oh, yeah, 100%.
Yes.
But it's hard to say that ahead of time.
A few years ago, there were some serious complaints by some other tournament directors because the trophies weren't what they thought were adequate. And so we had to kind of reevaluate. And so, it's a fine line. Yeah.
Other
stuck with the
tournament
same
directors
formula
gave you
for
a
a
hard
while.
time about
No. players did.
Oh, I see. Because they were used to other.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. And certainly less of them will end up in the woods out at Eagle Ridge if only first place is getting trophies.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
Some first places are hidden, but most of them are trophies that.
But I love
that don't make sense. Yeah.
You mentioned geocaching, like that is now through a brand new filter for me of what you have been doing with them for people to find them. That it's now a side quest. And that's epic.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm having a bad round, or
Yeah.
I'm on my way. I was like, I wonder if that like championship trophy from 2016 is still hidden over in this location. I'll go and I'll be like, it is still there.
Yeah.
Cool. Now I can leave, or it's not, or it's not, and I don't care. Like, okay, like somebody maybe grabbed it,
one
scratched
grabbed
it, or
who
something.
found
like,
it, or what's
who
the story
cares?
with it?
Yeah.
Does someone have it up in their basement?
If there's
because they
intent
didn't
and you're
win,
not
or-
just chucking it into the woods,
Who's keeping my trophy?
Yeah.
But I hide it in a spot where it's like, I'm not trying to put it out there and be like, haha, this is my trophy. I'm hiding it. Or I'm not trying to be like littering or anything either. It's just
fun.
It's just way back. It's just for me to know that it's there.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a way just for me to be like, this is kind of like some Easter eggs of me, but also of the tournaments going on in this area. Like, people come
Like, could
across
you
it. and it's,
imagine
like, random.
so many years from now?
Right.
And then finally someone finds one that's been so well hidden.
It's a historical artifact at that
Yo.
point.
And then the new Mike Conlee is born.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. No,
Good
there you
happen.
go.
What?
Senior-
there must
senior.
be some trophies that you have kept, right? Do you have any trophies?
Yes, many. Yeah.
And how do you even like think about which ones are going to get hidden versus the ones you're going to keep?
Events I've maybe placed at multiple times. I play a lot of events yearly.
Sure.
And so multiple Sinisippi Open second or third places or wins. I only need one to remember that I won it once. So I remember I won it twice. So things like that.
That's cool.
They can make someone smile if senior can weed whack and just be like, oh, cool, this guy.
Yeah.
So he just dug out hole 5. I don't know if you've seen the new hole 5.
I have not.
I don't know if anybody can picture hole 5, and if you throw it an inch too deep, you're rolling down the back cliff anyways. But he dug out a double fairway or single fairway, double fairway, and then there's like a green down past the ridge on hole 5. And he's like going, giving his plans on the Fox Valley side to dig it out. I was like, oh man, if you come across a couple, don't be.
Is 5
don't be
ready
shy.
hyzer like baskets on like the
Yeah, it's only like
edge?
220.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dug it out past
Okay.
it. So it's about 300 now. I've
Got
only,
it. Okay.
I have not
Yeah,
played
that's
it,
cool. Yeah.
but I saw it.
Cool.
It is cool.
Cool.
You mentioned Mike Krupiga by name. You mentioned some of his tournaments. You are a 3-time Illinois Open Series champ. First off, before we talk about what that kind of means to you, can you give listeners an idea of what the Illinois Open Series is? Because crazy enough, after doing 75 episodes of this, I don't know that we've ever talked about that series.
That's Krupika. That's his deal.
Yeah.
that
I
he's
know.
been doing.
That's
I mean,
his.
honestly, like
Since
I would,
2003, I think is
I
what
would
the
go to a
banner
guy
says.
like you to know more history. I mean, or ask the man himself, Krupika.
Yeah,
but
that was
I've
the
never
core,
played any of his
definitely the
events.
core group of tournament
Yeah.
to play back in the day,
Yeah.
and something that you could put your focus on. My focus was never on the point series, but I don't know, just well run, and you put some certain tournament directors in the upper echelon. I mean, Mike's up there, Sean's obviously up there at events that you want to go back to, and I think the thing that hits home for me the most is I played my first event at Oswego. I was an Oswego guy. I wasn't even PDGA sanctioned or PDGA numbered, I guess you would say. And I remember he goes, "Oh, don't worry, we're gonna have a players meeting for the first time tournament players." I was pretty good. I was playing rec. I knew what I was doing, but I was like, okay, still a little nervous. And he calls this meeting, and it's just me. Oh, sick. Oh, okay. I was like, am I in for it like right now, or what's going on? And he was super nice to me, and he got me off and running, and he made sure to touch base with me after. And he's always been a big supporter of mine, as I am a supporter of his events. He knows that I put the point series on a high pedestal, and he likes that that's coveted. There's really no extra money, just bragging rights and a trophy to it. It's just cool to say that you won, a series, the main core series that travels further through Illinois, and that is called the Illinois Open Series. Especially for my friends that don't play disc golf and they don't know. It's like, Illinois Open Series, great dude, you're the best. I was like, I'm like the 6th best in the state, maybe, but
the best.
Yeah. Just so you know, I'm still playing.
Kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
It definitely, to me, when I was first getting into the scene, and my first tournament ever, I believe, was the Forest City Frenzy in Rockford. And it was like, oh, this is what organized disc golf looks like. And that was the standard that I started holding all my events to. And I think that changed again once I went to First Flight at Delwood. But the Illinois Open Series, to me at that time, and I bet to a lot of players, is like, oh, this is like the standard. This is this is the series to win. This is what it looks like at the highest level in our area.
It's a competition within a competition.
Yeah.
And if you have trouble beating this one guy or gal all year, and you can get after them over 4 or 5 events, makes you feel like you did something. It makes you feel like you got him, even though you didn't.
Totally.
Even though you didn't.
I have a funny little goober moment.
Tell us.
I did not even know that, Illinois Open Series meant. I didn't know what a series was or what it meant. I just thought it was like, oh, that's a series of tournaments. Didn't realize it was a cumulative thing, or people were playing for, to win the whole series. I just was playing most of the tournaments that he was doing that year. And it came to, I think the last event of that season might have been at Delwood. I don't remember where it was, but I was in MA3, and some of the guys on my card were talking about.
You're still in MA3, but.
Yeah, if that. I'm actually rated. I'm rated novice nowadays.
Oh, man.
Anyways,
you're still a dog. You're still a dog.
The guys on my card were talking about who was like in the running for taking home to win the series. Never something that I thought about. Never something I knew about. And I heard somebody say my name, and I was like, "Did you say Alex Seminary?" And they were like, "Yeah, like that dude is like he's like pretty safely going to take home second place for the series." And I was like, "That's me." Like, did not know that. But all the points of all the tournaments were being kept track of, and that I was like up near the top because I didn't have any like first or second place wins. I just was consistently finishing like in the top 10 of MA3 that year. So the only trophy that I really that means something to me is my Illinois Open overall the series, second place MA3 2016.
Hell yeah!
And I almost brought it this year.
6 events, 5 events,
right?
So it's a different trophy,
and it was really cool. It's like the only, like I said, only trophy that I thought was I almost brought today to show you, like, hey, I'm in the Illinois Open Series too. And then I got here and you were like, can you imagine showing off a second place?
I bury mine.
Mine's on display in my little trophy.
First place advanced, chuck this in the bush.
But it is pretty crazy that the Illinois Open Series isn't brought up more because Mike is also our state coordinator. I mean, longtime state coordinator. Surely, and I don't run tournaments, but helps everybody out in the background at the beginning of the season when there's scheduling snafus that need to be changed very quickly. He's the PDGA rules
coordinator.
Coordinator. Yep.
We've messaged him. I have personally several times, and he'll get back to me within seconds. If we have
it's
even like
crazy.
A hypothetical.
He's a text away.
It's great.
I've texted him on the course for some quick emergency things, not emergency, but just quick answer things. And if you've ever been on IllinoisDiscGolf.com, I mean, you have the yearly calendar there that, I mean, you announce a flex start on Facebook, and I'm feeling like I'm looking at events the next couple of days, and it's on that site already. He's got the JGTS finals on there. He's got unsanctioned events, downstate events, Peoria events, all their flex starts. He's got past Obelisk winners, world champions, national champions from Illinois, and a lot of the stats. So, like, as a nerd, a stat guy, to see that kept and to see that cherished, and also a little bit like write the story of Illinois disc golf in these different areas and pockets
also
where he's running events.
Also,
awesome.
one of the
Illinois Hall of Fame
board members of figuring out Illinois Disc Golf Hall of Fame, which this year they skipped over purposefully, and they said let's revisit it in 2025 so that we can have a larger school of people to do that. Yeah, Mike's awesome. Mike is awesome.
He also makes really cool wooden minis.
He does make cool wooden
and that's
minis.
some of the perks of the series. I got my wooden mini at iOS 100 when they finally pushed it back because I had played 25 or more iOS events. I know that if you play all but one iOS events, you have some prioritized sign up for the next subsequent season. So that's cool. I mean, why not let the people that are playing 5 events a year for you sign up a couple days early?
He is awesome, but I do have beef with him.
Let's hear it.
Ooh.
He once hosted.
Pause for the music. And
here we go.
Here we are.
He once hosted an iOS event at Eureka Temp, and it was 2 rounds in one day.
Oh boy!
The first round was so much fun. The second round was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was just way too much walking to do that course twice in a day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't get to finish because it was like the sun was setting. It was just too long, too much in a day.
Oh God.
I still have mad respect for him, like bringing all the players from up here down there to go get to play that course. I never would have got to play that course, otherwise. So I'm teasing a little bit because I really enjoy the hell that I kind of went through that day.
Yeah.
But me and Scott Rangel at the end of that day, two big chubby dudes, looked at each other like, this was not meant for us, bro.
A lot of steps. That's a lot of steps. Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be 25,000 steps that day.
It does get those. It mixes those weird courses, but keeps those core courses that have been around. I mean, Mississippi. Oswego's been a stop since I've been playing the iOS, so that always hit home for me, being my home course. There was an iOS at Delwood before Delwood disc golf was a thing. Echo at the Canyons.
Yep.
I remember that. That's the one I was
talking about.
Yeah.
I believe that is the only iOS event at Delwood. Yeah. And then like little pockets here and there. Rockford, obviously, bringing Rockford into the scene and promoting them, getting their course beefed up for the iOS 100 and continuous iOS events every year. And that South course is looking awesome.
That series is the reason why I got introduced to a handful of courses in the sort of greater Chicagoland area. Never would have played Oswego without that. Probably never would have played Rockford, Marengo. There's a handful of courses that I just only know because of that series. So, yeah.
Cool.
I'm on IllinoisDiscGolf.com right now because I just learned that was a thing.
Hey.
What 3 players are shouted out on this website because they have, quote, 100+ wins under their belt? You guys know?
Tom McManus.
I know, so I can't see because.
Yes, Tom McManus is on there.
The next 2 are easier than Tom McManus.
What? Really?
Yeah, 1 male, 1 female.
Yep.
Barrett White.
Yep.
Oh, of course, Barrett White.
And the third one is a past guest of the show.
Ooh,
Chris Sprague.
Yeah,
Chris Sprague.
Yeah.
Hey, we got there.
Yeah,
nice.
Good job,
guys. Yeah,
that took a couple of hints. Sick. All right, let's go. Let's move along. You've got Heritage Park talk. What's going on with Heritage Park? Just give us a lay of the land, and we'll dive.
Yeah, anybody who's played Heritage Park knows that the tee pads are kind of gravel loose, and that takes away from some of the luster, especially the long holes. But more recently, there's about 3 baskets out right now.
First off, when did baskets go into the ground here? Who designed it?
Baskets went in either 2019 or 2020, I think.
2020.
In the most recent meeting that I went, or the first meeting that I went to with the Parks Department, they said they put them in because there was a little bit of a lull in park planning at the time. They bought the baskets, put them in.
You said you're meeting with the Parks people, so is this your initiative?
It seems to be. Yeah, and I take full responsibility for it. But I've been going to meetings just because I live like 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
And I feel obliged.
You came to them and said, here's an opportunity.
I came to them and said, hey, I see that there's a few baskets out in the park already. 1, what's going on? And 2, what are the plans for disc golf? Because even before the construction started to advance in the park, you played 6 or 7 holes. You crossed all the way over. There were 18 full holes, but it was a little haphazard getting around. The signage wasn't there. The tee boxes weren't there. There were some long holes. It wasn't so beginner friendly. And it played over some paths or near some paths. And as the traffic picked up after COVID, it was clear that this 18-hole layout that encompassed almost all the park
and a lot
wasn't going to be feasible.
The general park goers were not stoked about having discs crossing the paths and things like that. So there was like a general pushback as well.
Is stoked about seeing that or weary about throwing when you have anybody coming towards you. So that took away from it a little bit too. So I go to the parks meeting when I first move in there, and we had a lot going on with the house and wedding planning and stuff, but it's right there. And I think my biggest shock was how close, at least at the time, and maybe a little bit still, that disc golf not being at Heritage Park is a possibility. So they made that very evident to me that it's like, okay, it's accompanying too much of the park. We were gonna pull it out now and just kind of table it for a second. And it wasn't until my response was like, well, you have like $9,000 or $10,000 worth of baskets out there, $500-$600 all in for each of these baskets. You're just gonna put them away? And they're like, we have $9,000 in baskets out there. Whoa, oh my God, like why? Okay, why would we put them in storage? So that kind of got the conversation back up. I don't think that they maybe trusted me at first. I'm sure they get a lot of people in there like, oh, let's do roller hockey. Let's do an ice rink. Let's do this.
You're charming.
I just speak a good game, and that's half of it. And so I think I was shocked at how close it was to like disc golf at Heritage Park not being a thing in the very near future.
That does raise questions for me because it's like we've seen when people change over roles in park districts, and it's like the next person will have no idea what was going on before. So that makes me wonder who put the baskets in, and how do we get to this point where like they had no idea what they had.
Yeah. So in 2020, it was super feasible. There wasn't a lot of foot traffic. It was a relatively new park. It used to be a 9-hole golf course.
But did they design it themselves? Did they like tap somebody in the disc golf community for this? Like, how did it even happen?
Oh,
Yeah,
originally
they
original disc
brought,
golf
I think
course.
Thor and Sean had some hand in it enough to just slap 18 holes out there maybe quickly. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't part of that process.
There was a temp course that went in to like promote the idea.
So Thor started stuff back in like 2016. We did a temp course where somebody that was tied in with Gateway, I don't remember exactly who it was, came out, lent baskets. There was a temp thing. That is actually, that temp course is the origin story to basket cases parking anywhere. If anybody locally knows that joke.
Mike Gillette.
Gillette pulled over where the parking block or where a parking block would have been and pulled into a ditch and got his car stuck. And that comes from the temp event that happened at Heritage Park when it was still the ball golf course.
Oh my.
Before they redesigned the entire property. Cut to 3 years later, 2019-ish, Thor comes with the idea of like, we're going to put this course in. So Thor and I designed this course in 2020. And in the beginning, it was kind of like, we could tell that they were like very hesitant, but it was still... The baskets were purchased. We have a great design that would work well for disc golfers if the space was continued to be considered for disc golf in some of the locations where it ended up not being the case, is what you're referring to, of like paths and things like that. So it's almost like, imagine like scales, right? Where we're trying to put beans on a scale for disc golf, and then they just weren't there. So then the other end of the scale was like, well, there's, ultimately going to be more opinions of non-disc golfers, not hating on it, but not understanding it. So
what does a bean mean?
A bean is
I'm sorry.
It's not a fruit.
Just go on.
But
the more you eat,
right? We all know that one. So we cut to a couple of years post original design where there is no movement. It's hard to make movement. Thor and myself have had, I think in that time, maybe a couple of more meetings where it was like, can we get back into answering some of the questions that are left unanswered? And it kind of just fell on deaf ear and just didn't seem like a priority. And then cut to, was it this year or end of last year?
End of last year and beginning of this year is when I didn't start tapping into them until March.
I feel like
when I got
Conlee
settled
just
down.
kind of came in as like a knight in shining armor for this like new concept of let's take it in the direction that they want. Not that we weren't, but I think you're killing it. I think you're doing exactly what needs to be done, and that's just
stewarding.
It. Sometimes it's just riding the wave of what happens at these properties where we would love to have all the answers in the beginning. We would love to have crossed all these T's and dotted I's 4 years ago. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
And, you moving to Homer Glen and starting to do this process from a different perspective as a different person, I think was exactly what this project needed.
Yeah. I think there was a little change of hands. I know when the course went in, you worked with a lady named Jen Vittori, and she had left the park district momentarily, came back within the last year and actually tagged on with me because she's like the one person in there who's heard this disc golf trigger word and has been on support of it and actually helped it in the past.
Yep.
And what I've learned from this is, half the battle is being there. And I feel very passionately about this. Yep. And every time I've gone to a meeting, I'm the only one there other than the board members. And I can push the issue a little bit. And if I care about it, I can be a little obnoxious.
Only citizen there?
Only citizen at the parks.
Not just a disc golf, but like the only citizen in general.
And he's a hot one.
I know.
Come on.
And I'm usually wearing my scrubs and my Crocs too when I show up. It's great. They're 4 o'clock meetings.
And they're like, we got to listen to him. He's a nurse.
I don't take the scrubs off because I look a little more official.
Yeah.
And I can push the issues. Oh, this guy has a job. Oh, he has.
This is a health issue.
Guy has this guy knows what he's talking about. But
I don't want no scrubs.
Yeah, I think they tried to, shove me off at first by saying like disc golf is very close to not existing in the park. There's already 2 or 3 baskets out. It doesn't really flow. And we could see it just not being a thing in the near future. And let alone come to find out that they have a dedicated area for disc golf in what's now the future plans of the park. After they add an amphitheater, parking, things that are just taking up the areas that are, occupied by a few disc golf holes, and that would just make it super unsafe. to play near those areas. So I actually had someone who I could tap in with, Mike Frieselbin.
Oh God,
Frieselbin,
Godsend.
Yeah,
not to be confused with Mike Apostolou, Mike Kripika, or
Mike Strauss.
Myself,
Mike Strauss.
who I call Mike Frisbeelin because I think it's
Frisbeelin.
I could just see it and Frisbeelin, yeah. So Mike Frisbeelin. Who's been killing out there on Thursdays. He does 8 or 9 weeks of junior leagues. He starts with a little bit of a clinic. He does a few holes. He does a modified layout. So when they told me they had this dedicated area and started to get on my side and realized, well, this guy actually plays. I have resources that can help with basket installation and tee boxes and everything. They wanted a layout. They said, hey, we have the space dedicated for this. Let's get going. Tell me less. So we got out there one week and I probably walked it for a few hours, Saturday, Monday, during Saturday before one of my tournament event rounds. I don't tee till 3:00. I'm there both days. And we brought Sean in we're trying to rework one of the back corners and get it to flow. So what we're going for is kind of a new Lennox style, Haynes Wayside, kind of geared towards junior, beginner, some ladies who are trying to get into the sport who are not wanting to throw 600 feet in multiple shots.
Yep. Sure.
The 2 pad, 2 basket thing will allow, like I said, juniors, beginners to play. But also if I want to go along with them or somebody more advanced wants to go along with them, they still have some full force shots out there. Not playing over a path or near a path was a priority. And that's one of the first things that I said to get them to say, hey, like, I'm not just like trying to throw things out there.
Of course.
Like I'm actually,
safety
we
first.
actually have some goals here. I think that's an overlying goal of disc golf because once a disc hits somebody,
that's it.
Takes a while to wrangle it back.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got out there. Hopefully we can release this fun little layout soon. Nothing's going to be done this year. The only thing they're hesitant on is the concrete tee pads, which I understand. It's more of a permanent structure, but it is just a game changer when you're on a concrete tee pad versus a gravel. And so I've been trying to say it's easier to mow around. You're not getting gravel thrown all over the place.
Yeah.
And you can get your footing and you're not slipping. And just read the UDisc reviews. I pulled it up. I was like, hey, let me just read these top 10 UDisc reviews for Heritage Park. 8 of them mentioned the tee pads and the lack of signage and the lack of flow. And that's 1, 2, 3. And lack of safety goes right in there with it, even though it's not said.
Obviously, I'm pro disc golf, but like you tell me that they're building all of these things like an amphitheater and all the new parking lots that I see when I go by there. And I'm like, a couple 100 square feet of concrete.
Yeah.
You can't possibly be concerned with that, considering all of the other renovations they're doing to the park.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
So that's got to be a pretty low hurdle once everything's all said and done.
Right. And, they say these things. There's one lady that's Homerfest is over in that location. I was like, hey, well, Homerfest would still be there, whether it's a gravel pit or it's a nice, smooth concrete tee pad at the same level as the grass. So what's that concern? They're building a new, accessible kind of like a ADA inclusive park at the Villas of Old Oak. And that's like a $240,000 thing. And, at the end of the day, I'm only asking for $8,000 to $10,000 worth of tee pads because you got $8,000 to $10,000 worth of baskets out there.
Right.
And a few in storage. So you only have a very small amount to wrap this project up, get it in the part of the course that you've set out for disc golf, get it safe to where you're not playing over pads, and get it to where you can see the next tee pad either with a sign or just from the previous basket. Because right now, that's a little wishy-washy in some spots. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
It sounds like you're being a really good steward and really patient and showing them what they need to see. Like, I think bringing the reviews to their attention is key. Like, yeah, you've spent the money on this, which A, that was great to bring that up. But B, people are like already taking advantage of the work that's already been done. Like, people are out there using the space and they want to be able to do it more. There's only like, just a little gap you need to cover to get there. But if you go on there guns blazing, you may lose all the progress that you could have made otherwise. So,
and that's what it sounded like we were kind of close to happening.
That
Honestly, it was
for
definitely
sure,
close to happening.
For sure happening. I mean, being able to kind of relive this story with you as a spearhead is, we are now living in the future that we were dreaming of 4 years ago. Keep in mind, we held Workforce Brewing 2.
Yeah, it was part of the series.
3 at Heritage, where, there was this kind of progression and this idea that we were going to have another kind of shanty level course in the area that was going to be part of J-Town. And it was still difficult to grow it in the times that we were doing it with the park district and what, kind of their view was. And we knew at that time too, that things were going to be changing and there was going to be the changes that we've seen between now and then, of course, that you're referencing. So we had all the promise, and unfortunately, it just kind of went the way that it would. But, I can't imagine a better person being at the helm in this second phase of what Heritage can be or should be.
I'm taking pride in it, and I tell them I'm going to live here for however many more years. Right. So I am your guy. I mean, I'm not just here saying these things and faking that I play disc golf.
Totally.
And wearing fake scrubs and fake Crocs. Just make me feel more important.
Hey, this guy's got $25,000 worth of career earnings, guys.
and I'm going to go
serious.
Secondary level.
It's tough because like Alex said, you can't go in guns a-blazing. You can't go in too timid, but you have to go in patiently, respectfully. And also, I'm not ready to put out there, although we're very good at fundraising efforts in these areas. I'm not putting it out there because I don't want to succumb ourselves to that. Right. But that may be something that we have to have fundraise for concrete tee pads, whether there's 9 tee pads, 1 per hole, or there's 2 tee pads. Again, not trying to put ourselves out there and assume that task unless we have to. But it's really not a huge undertaking compared to some of these things they're putting into the park, the baskets they already have out there. So I think what the progression is here is next year, hopefully, moving the baskets is no problem. They have no problem moving the baskets. It's digging a new hole. A lot of the baskets actually aren't moving. There's probably 3 or 4 that aren't moving and are being one of A or B pins for one of the 9 holes.
Love that.
Like, for example, to your recommendation, hole 3's pin is going to be a B pin.
Yeah.
For what would be like hole 4 or 5, playing in that direction, just because it's iconic. You think of Heritage, you got those 2 ponds back there.
In between the ponds.
That little isthmus.
I love it. I mean, people are like, dude, I love so many discs. And I'm like, I didn't want you to lose discs, but I wanted you to learn how to play safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great hole in the area that does that.
But keep it away from the path, too, and throwing towards that pond, isthmus area.
Isthmus, a word of Latin origin, from the Greek word ismos. It is a narrow strip of land with sea on either side, forming a link between 2 larger areas of land.
And so I think that the progression here now is they have no problem moving the baskets, especially if a lot of them aren't going to change. It's a low-cost thing. They're all in areas that are already mowed. We're not digging out any new forest, which there's only a very minimal amount of that in Heritage Park anyways. Get those in and get some temp tee pads laid down, whether they're on the grass or similar to what they have now. And then get the juniors and maybe the slip discers stopping there once or twice a session. Get the ladies stopping there. Get another traveling league stopping there. And just get this chatter going about the course, how much it flows, the holes, the variety. Because if you have 2 tee pads and 2 baskets, you really have 36 holes out there. So that's how I'm trying to pitch it too. Is like, we're not really building an 18-hole course. We're building a 9-hole course. But really, we're building a 36-hole course if you want to play it that way. And then get chatter going about the course and all the elements and saying, oh, okay, now we could do concrete tee pads because it's in demand. And again, shout out to Mike. Mike jumped on doing the junior thing a couple years ago. He's out there they do 3 or 4 Friday night movies and they do a Heritage Fest and he's out there putting with the kids. And when I went there to either introduce myself or chat with him or get him updates about this, it's sometimes hard pulling him off that basket with like 8-year-old guys, girls. I mean, just younger, older, smashing putts, from 10, 12, 15 feet, and then coming back for putting again and putting again and putting again.
It's the candy.
It's just cool to see. And the candy too.
Talks
the
about
banana
the
Laffy Tappies. I go grab some too.
Yeah. He's giving out candy.
And his wife's always there. She's running the table. And so I don't know. It's just like a little bit more of a, like we're doing the right thing. Like I'm trying to tag on with him too. And he's very supportive of me and helped me get a few of the whole designs in. Because we went over what layout he uses for the holes that he plays on Thursday nights. So we were able to accommodate a lot of those holes. And being an old golf course and me being a lifelong golfer, there's a lot of raised like Mesa-style tee pads, fairways cut out, a lot of berms, little elevation areas that I'm trying to utilize to give kids that have only played golf that kind of aspect, like, oh, I'm still kind of playing golf.
Yeah, it's
like,
familiar.
Like this is a tee pad.
Sure.
Okay, and like this is a fairway. And I have to get around it, and I'm kind of teeing from this elevated like VIP area. And so I'm playing golf a little bit. I'm not paying anything. So
yeah.
I know that story is not finished, right? There's still you're coming close to a potential ending, but if you were to look ahead to the project being completed, what do you feel like the moral of this Heritage Park story is?
Just a course everybody can play. I told them, like, if there's hopes of it being an 18-hole course in the park someday, we want to maybe hold out. And no offense, I play a lot of disc golf. And when you're really into disc golf and you get sometimes good, you're playing courses that you want to challenge yourself. And I told them, there's some long holes out here, but no offense, if I'm going to play disc golf, I'm going to go to Highland. I'm going to go to Delwood. I'm going to go to Trinity. I might go over to Shanahan. I might go over to Madison Meadows in Tinley Park to really push myself. But other than New Lenox, there's really not this kind of style course that I can bring my wife to. I can bring, my 8-year-old niece to, who's kind of throwing the Frisbee around in the backyard a little bit and can play the short tee pad to short pin confidently and build confidence in doing that. So I think that's what it is.
Yeah, flipping the script, because I remember a lot of the pushback was this park is supposed to be for families and it's not for disc golf. Well, now you're turning it on its head and saying, no, disc golf is for families.
Yeah.
Right.
Get on board.
It's 9 holes. If you want to play 9, get in and get out. And you're in that area, you're with the other disc golfers and there's really not a lot going on. If you shank a disc and you're not, like you said, like your daughter gets embarrassed or people's beginners get embarrassed or their children get embarrassed. They want to be better or their wife gets embarrassed. Like, no one's watching you. We're out here in the middle of the woods. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, and you're right here. Like, you're upshotting and let's just finish this hole, go to the next one.
Yeah.
You're not getting in too much trouble either.
Yeah. And mentioning Haynes too, we did, Dana and I did that 2 years ago. We've run the New Lenox Open out there twice now. There is not a week that goes by at the shop where that is not coming up as somebody going to that place and having a changing experience with their disc golf game.
Yeah.
On any level, there's not a week that goes by. But that's not happening. So I look forward to there being more options, having been the person that, helped Thor push that to be a thing to get baskets in the ground in the first place. I think that property better serves as exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that will work out for every demo of disc golfer we can think of.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need much. It needs, like I said, some teeing area and a sign with a UDisc QR code and some introduction to the game, maybe a map and a post at each tee pad. And it's really that. Everything else is grass and easily maintainable, at least at that course. So
sure.
Yeah. And then my wife's favorite course is New Lenox. I mean, she's like, wow, this is cool. Like, this is different. Like, I threw a bad shot, but I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm maybe getting a 3 or a 4, but I'm like right here. I'm not
that was
in a thorn bush.
I think it was Clash, and there were a group of like 5 or 6 dudes that came to play Delwood and found out the course was closed.
Yeah. Oh.
And we told them, hey, have you tried New Lenox? And they're like, what is that? Told them where it was. And I remember seeing them come back a couple days later and they were like, dude, that's our new favorite place. It is. It's got a vibe all its own. And for those style of players, I'll go back and play that every day.
We're very lucky to have those, like I said, those higher caliber courses where I can go and push myself. But then we need a little bit more of this different demographic, but different style of park style golf.
I think over the course of us doing this show, there's a lot of themes that kind of emerge, just like recurring themes. And sometimes we don't even know it's a theme until it's like, oh,
we've had enough years of it.
Yeah.
And to see it come back again.
And now it's occurring to me, especially after the episode we just did with Jim Schultz, that service in the disc golf community is like a theme that I think we talk about a lot. And I see what you're doing at I hear about what you're doing at Heritage Park.
Come see it.
And that's the first thing that comes to mind for me is like, you're being so much of service to the community and you're being such a good steward. And to me, the moral of the story with Heritage Park is like, you didn't come in and say, here's what you guys need to do. Here's what I want. It was more like, let me meet you guys where you are today with this project. And I'll kind of take what I can get and build some trust with you and show you how are we going to get from this to this to this to this. That's what stewarding and being of service is about.
Well, is
like help being a citizen too.
Yeah. And right educating them to the fact that is where they want to be. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I'm here as a citizen. I also want to know what's going on with the park. I want to make the park better. My expertise is here, but I also want to hear what you guys got going on to help couple with that. So yeah, I think I approached it in a good way. And my role in disc golf, not my role, but as I get older, my role pushing more towards an ambassador role is changing even within my Latitude sponsorship. But when I was young, it was like play as you get ready to start a family or you see all these other events going on around you. It's like, wow, like I have this to add potentially to the community that there's all these other things already going on. So that just helps to kind of drive you.
So much was given to you, from other people before you.
100%.
And now it's like, I have a way to give back to the next generation. That's the coolest thing that I see happen in the disc golf community. To me, hands down.
Yep. So when it gets up, if we move the baskets, let's get some people out. I'm going to post some events, and hopefully in the spring, summer, we're playing a new layout out there with some beginners, some ladies, everybody out there. Get some chatter going. Hopefully we can get concrete tee pads to top it off.
So sick.
Hyped.
That I think is enough of the Heritage Park story. But you just mentioned your Latitude 64 sponsorship. So let's talk about that a little bit. When did this sponsorship start? What does it look like today? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it because it is a fun story. You know, I did go out my first year on tour in 2017, totally unsponsored. Sean picked me up, supported me halfway through the year, and has continued to support me. And that meant a lot to me halfway through a big touring 2017 season. And
when you say on tour, were you going like national? You were going all around the country, or just like
I bought a Pro Tour pass and said I'm going to play all the events. The Pro Tour was a new thing. It was in its second year, and that sounded like a nice platform. I didn't know it was going to be what it is today, but you kind of had the feelings of it. Maybe not so much in 2016, but definitely in 2017 and 2018. And I still worked, so I had to go to these events and come back, and go to these events and come back. So it got a little long in driving and everything. But I think the biggest thing that got me my Latitude sponsorship was just being there and holding myself well on the course, which is something I always pride myself on, and I've always been very good at. I mean, I've been a lifelong golfer, keep my composure, keep my eyes on, my next shot. And I played a few rounds. I earned my way to play a few rounds with Dave Feldberg early in 2017. I played with him at Waco, and then I played with him again at Jonesboro. But before Jonesboro even started, him and his wife, Cynthia, were putting around and hanging out. And he had remembered me from Waco. He said, "Hey, man, I'd like to pull you aside. There's a couple things that you're doing that you could really make a lot better move at the disc." And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm on tour. I think I'm doing this good thing. I'm finally getting my rating up. I think I'm getting better. and it's not good enough. It's not good enough for Dave.
Who was this world champion trying to tell me what to do?
Oh, and I knew it. And I respect my first disc that I went out of my way to buy was like the 08 Feldberg Boss. It was like when I started playing, and I could finally rip it or sidearm it or backhand it. Wow. And I just remembered that. And I was like, wow, I'm actually talking to Dave Feldberg. He wants to give me a lesson. And the tournament hadn't started. So, maybe when it's done, I don't want to ruin my swing right now. And so I met up with him after, and he said, I really, really like the way that you carried yourself at Waco. Didn't have the best round with him, his wife, who was walking around before and after the round at the next event. And that it just, if you're putting yourself out there and you're being respectable and you're holding yourself to a standard,
which is more than a lot of tour players, right?
Yeah. I mean, half the battle's being there, and he just remembered that. So that went a long way with me.
It's interesting that is unique enough that it grabs someone's attention.
It's the bare minimum, man.
Yeah. But that's the age we live in.
Right.
That was impressive.
He was like at a high up ambassador role at Latitude at that point. So he brought me on. Funny enough, he was talking about Gavin Rathbun, who was his rookie pick the year prior. And Gavin was actually sponsored by Latitude in 2016 or part of 2017 at that point. So I was like, oh, I'm tagging on after Gavin Rathbun. Okay, whatever. Yeah, it came up and I've rolled with it ever since. So I have switched to an ambassador role at this point. I was playing on their tour team, and in 2017 and 2018, that rang true. But after I changed jobs and went back to working full time and saw that the tour life wasn't quite for me, because I'm not bouncing from event to event to event to event. I still want to keep my job, make some money, keep my health insurance, I think was most of it. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't for me, and it wasn't as feasible. Yeah, more into ambassador role now, and assuming some of those things that we talked about with Heritage and what an ambassador to the sport means has really kind of hit home to me this year. Having more fun at events, attending events for reasons that are point series to support upper echelon TDs that got me into the game. People like Randy Moore Sr., going to his induction or Gary Lewis achievement ceremony. Those things just carry a lot more weight with me now than just making an event because I have the time off.
Right. Birdies and bogeys.
Birdies and bogeys. Birdie Bash?
Do you want to talk at all about Latitude's plastic, their actual product, or is that not a big thing for you?
No, it isn't a big thing for me. Obviously, I support the company. I think the biggest thing that hits for me in being with Latitude is they were a huge company when I went on with them. I just hadn't dove into the trilogy stuff because in 08, 09, 2010, when I started, you were either throwing Innova drivers and Discraft mid-ranges and maybe a mix of a couple other things, and that was it. And there became all these choices, and I kind of got locked in my ways. And when I went to Trilogy, I actually found myself picking up discs and going, man, like I need to throw this with some kind of purpose now, because it's not the T-bird that I know exactly what it does if I throw it on this angle at this speed in this situation on this hole that I've been doing for the last 7 or 8 years. So it really helped me to focus on what I was doing with my feet, with my hips, with my shoulders, with my alignment, as opposed to just what I was doing with the disc. So that was an awesome, just like a level up for me. The thing that hits home now about Latitude is they make so many discs. It's like crazy. I don't know what the number is, but like the percentage of total discs of disc golf that comes from House of Discs, which is a whole nother conversation.
Yep,
is just wild to me. So yeah, for them to be sponsored by a company that's doing that makes me represent them more. I know they're doing a good thing for the sport. So
you and I have been Facebook friends, and I've seen you around, and I've known you are trusted and respected by a lot of people that I trust and respect. So
are you going to take this to the next level?
What?
Like be real friends now?
Well, that's
hand in marriage.
Have you guys ever? You guys ever hugged?
No, but we can't.
We'll do it on the way out.
I just want to say, on a real level, it is really
and
cool
thank you for that, because I feel like sometimes when I'm going through my disc golf season, that is my role, right? I mean, you have somebody who went to school for 4 years, has a career, knows that that's their bread and butter, plays disc golf at a high level, but is not pushing that on other people, and it's when these younger kids and these younger women and beginners come into the sport, they need to know that, my rule in my house was like, get a degree and then you can do whatever you want. I think get a degree goes beyond like go to a trade, get a job, get something that you can do and that supports you, and also play disc golf. And so I try to emulate that, I guess, I think, whether I'm saying it or not, especially to the younger kids.
Yeah. Working man's disc golf.
Yeah.
I think is a huge thing in an area like Chicagoland, where it is like predominantly blue collar people working their asses off and then still enjoying this thing that gets them through that, ironically, that work week.
It's so many things. And if it's your decompressed walk in the park at night playing Glow, or in the winter, Sunday morning, that's what it is. It could be so many things.
I think it's about time that we get into our fantasy finale. Ryan?
Yes, sir. We have got some...
Is it a shakeup?
We've got some updating to do, and boy, it's a doozy. We mentioned that D-Glow and the Green Mountain Championships were like playing as we recorded one of our past episodes, but we weren't going to get to it. I'm going to give you the highlights of a few of these at D-Glow. One of the highlight scores was the deucer, Sheila, with a total score of 28 points.
The best of the season?
It's pretty close up there. Almost every one of her players was above their rating, and just everybody scored great. Simon Lizotte, obviously, Haley King, Aaron Gossage, but they all killed it. So she had a score of 28, while everyone else was, plus 50 or more above that. So that was great. GMC, Team Jaylene had a 38, and flipping the switch here, Team Deucer ended up having a 254.
Ouch.
So that 28 was upended because Simon Lizotte and Anthony Barella both were in 67th place, which is unheard of. Yeah, they don't even want me to mention that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Team Tailwind was right in the mix with both of those. So we'll see how that pans out.
Anything could happen.
Yeah. MVP Open was kind of a wash. Like everybody scored mid points. Team Contentious Toad had 51, which I thought was great. But everyone was like right around the 100 mark or so. So it wasn't really much of a shakeup there. The USDGC and Throw Pink was pretty interesting because up until these last 5 tournaments, Sean and I were a point apart. The USDGC saw some things happen. While I scored a 91, unfortunately, Team Callahalender scored a 200.
Oh,
thank you to Chris Clemens.
OOF.
With a 92, 92nd place.
Come on, Chris.
Yeah. So our last tournament of the season, the DGPT Championships, was a qualifier event. So because of that, not all of our players ended up playing. So I ended up taking the top 4 men and just deleting the last, because I think Team Contentious Toad was the only one that had all 5 players in. So I just took the last one off and scored 2, except
that was nice of you.
For Team Tailwind, only had 2 players that actually qualified, so we just left it at that and gave you a nice little score of 38, which was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That changes everything.
It does change everything.
Cherry on top.
So because of that, keep in mind that there are only 6 players instead of 7, but Team Jaylene scored a 14.
Nice.
That's the best all season.
I mean, with 1 less person, but 14 is like unmatched.
Yeah.
Team Callahan scored a 20. Thank you to Gannon Burr and Missy Gannon, both wins.
The old
and
Annans.
also Team Contentious Toad scored a 22. So the total scores.
What does it all mean?
Cue the drum roll here, folks.
And I think the winner and the loser both have to spin. How's that?
Winner and loser. What does that mean?
First place and last place.
Oh,
spin the wheel.
Oh, that's what those words mean.
So
it's
top and the
confusing
bottom.
when we're talking about the lowest score wins.
Yeah. So with the highest score, LLP, 3,670 points was Team Tailwind. In 4th place was the Deucer with 2,952. In 3rd place was Team Jaylene, a respectable 3rd place.
Yep.
For a good third of the season, you were dominating. So good for you. So it comes down to Team Callahan and Team Contentious Toad with a score of 2,403 points. 2nd place is Team Callahan.
Oh, man.
No.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so. How close was that?
And with a score of 2,260, Team Contentious Toad. So I got you by 143 points.
Because of the second to last.
Because of the last couple of events. Yeah.
Is it suspicious at all to anybody else that the guy who wrote all the rules and
Yeah.
reviewed all the scores and controlled every aspect of this
And just gassed
program?
himself up with that whole spiel beforehand? Yeah.
Tried to keep
I
it
like that.
mellow.
I like
Did you
that.
notice that I said the winner and the loser will spin? See,
That must be because you added something really sweet to the wheel. That
I
you're
did.
hoping
Okay, so
you're hoping you win.
Send it.
because this is the end of the season and a lot of these things won't apply anymore. We added very many shots of Malort to the wheel. We also added very many pee-pee pants to the wheel. So there is at least 3 or 4 of each of those. There is still 1 instance of the hat of shame and 1 instance of the pitch shift if one of us were to get that, which I will put on for the rest of the episode. But if Alex or I happen to spin our own color, we go to the tiny wheel, and we have erased some of the tiny wheel and added.
This is written in the stars, baby. Yep.
If you remember, the tiny wheel has some good
till today.
In one spot on the tiny wheel, it says instant season winner.
Oh God, I'm praying.
If you are to spin that, LP, you will be the winner of the fart season. So, do you want to go first?
First
or you want
off,
me to
I
go
want
first?
to know the odds of getting the tiny wheel and then winning and then getting that. So, like, what are the odds of me winning?
1 out of 120.
Okay, so I have
still alive.
Yeah,
You are.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Make it all up.
Is that a 1.2% chance of winning everything right now?
No, that is like a
Less than
0.825 something. Yeah.
Okay. So you're telling me there's a chance.
If you want to be accurate.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
So
I
do you want?
I do.
Do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. All right.
Just so we can have the potential ending.
And we're still chanting Tiny Will, or we're chanting
Yeah.
LP this time,
Oh,
or
I
what?
don't know. Tiny wheel for me, LP for him.
Okay, all right,
okay. Here we go. Ready?
Tiny Will, Tiny Will, Tiny Will, Tiny Will, Tiny Will.
Beep, beep,
Pee-pee
beep.
pants.
Y'all get
You guessing.
squirt.
Okay.
That's pee-pee.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's pretty good.
That's how you pee pants.
Now you're gonna actually pee. We pee.
Oh wow, the accuracy.
It sounds like piss.
It
sounds like a pistol.
Perfect. All right. Should have recorded that. That was so good.
Perfect.
All right, take a picture.
All right. Ryan had a little accident.
All right. So
All right, so you won, but at what cost?
you got it. Well, you know what? It is not a 0.825 because there's 2 instances of this. So it's 60. So you're like 6%.
It can happen.
6%.
I'm rooting for you.
6%.
I really want LP to rise from the ashes
Rise from your grave.
Rise from your LP grave.
All right, here we go. We're chanting LP.
And
LP, 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 LP.
This water's soaking in.
LP.
Oh.
shot him along.
Shot him along.
That was coming from a mile away.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that was
Tequila.
fine.
Chug that tequila.
All right, let's see.
Though I don't
make
have
a face when I
chaser
see the
now.
bottle.
I used to.
Red Bull's out?
I'll take it without a chaser. That's the right way to have Malort.
All right, let's see the yuck face.
Oh, it's gonna be bad.
I remember at the beginning of the
3,
season, I feel like.
2, 1.
All of my competitors, whom I graciously allowed you to run away with this competition.
Oh no!
It's you lose control of your face as soon as it hits your tongue.
Yeah.
I felt very in control for the first few seconds.
Yeah, and then it just takes
No.
over.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That's rough.
Like the way Malort affects your facial nerves.
Yeah,
It's just like another.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for putting this all together. I know it's not a small lift to organize all this data and
That's
write all
right.
the rules.
It's fun.
Nice spreadsheet.
Yeah,
We had fun with it.
we did.
Certainly.
And I think that is the finale of the 2024 fart season.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Team Contentious Toad.
Thank you.
Good job, right?
Nicely done.
You put together a great team.
You know what? I'm most proud of Jay. I think his picks in the first half were just
You had-
killer.
It was crazy.
He would have
No,
shut the
I
fuck
did.
up
Yeah,
about
what
it.
you were
but it
doing.
was great.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Did your girl ever give you any like meaningful interactions on Instagram?
No, she kind of left me on red, but
She's busy banging
fine.
pots, man. Owen is busy banging pots.
Owen Scoggins, yeah.
she did respond once, and then I kept trying to contact her. And she's left me on red on each one, but that's all right. She's busy out there. It's all good.
Yeah.
You didn't send any feed pics. That's the problem.
No,
No.
I didn't. That's
Owen's in the feet.
next season.
So I think the MVPs of the season, we can all agree, Owen Scoggins, Eric Oakley. Thank you to these players. All right, that's enough farting around. Let's get to the old mailbag.
Does that mean
Mail.
that you think that it's
Mail time.
Mail time.
Mail time.
mail time?
He harmonized well enough that we were
Yes.
like, I don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
Oh, I really thought we had at that time.
Well, first of all,
That was like a church
I'd,
song. That was good.
Oh, please open this.
mailbag.
Yeah.
So let me get all these. We get all these latches off here. Jesus, why do I put so many on here?
There's buttons and zippers.
Yeah.
Comment box.
There we go. Christ
There we go.
almighty. Why am I being so protective of
It's so secure.
Wow. All right. We're going to start with some questions that were sent to us via Facebook.
It's
In this-
Facibuca.
Fachibuka.
Yeah.
This first question comes to us via Ryan Stilson. And he just wants to say, Mike is hot. That's my question. So there you go.
How do you respond?
There you go.
How
Yeah.
do I respond? Humbly. Oh man.
Humbly. This is the guy
Humbly
that properly used isthmus earlier, but just said humbly. What is happening?
Responded humbly with no humble response.
Interesting. Let's see.
If you like that one, you're gonna love.
Yeah, you're gonna love what David Cope said because he said, "Damn it, I came here to ask that same thing." So Jesus Christ, let's move on to what Robert McCall said, and he said, "That's a good-looking guy right there." And what the hell is going on our Facebook today?
Yeah.
Because everybody just wants to talk about how freaking handsome you are.
Shout out to
Handsomest
my wife.
man in disc golf.
Here we go.
Well, it's not like you've done anything else worth talking about besides just being handsome.
Yeah. God, one trick pony here.
Jeff Chappelle, he would like to know if you would consider a man bun in the future. Is that a path you might see yourself headed down?
That's a very odd. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
You have to really commit to
You've
that.
had like a shaggy.
Yeah, hair's
You've
too
done
thick.
like a shaggy.
Yeah,
thing.
hard to get past the bush stage. If anybody knows what the
right.
bush
Right,
stage
right.
is,
Yeah, we all- yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Jason
bush
knows
stage.
it's hard to get past
Once you
the
get
bush.
past the bush
If
stage,
I know
yeah,
anything.
man. If you can, yeah. So there's an intermediate length of hair
Yeah.
to before it's like short or it's long enough
Right.
to where it's very tough. It's a tough couple months, and
Right.
yeah,
You
I
end up just chopping it
cave.
off
Yeah, I
instead
cave.
of, Yeah.
And
I thought he said
thick hair is a good reason, I guess. But that's the culprit.
Well, we did get one real question via, how do you pronounce it again?
Facebook.
That's it. Jeff Chappelle would like to know, what's the most underrated Latitude 64 mold in your opinion?
Ooh, that's a good one because there's a couple. I think the Fuse is one that I pitch to everybody. It's been in my bag since day one. I don't even carry a straight mid-range.
You know whose bag it is in, and she threw it all 5 holes, is Nora's bag.
Really?
She loves the Fuse.
Nice.
Yeah, she gravitated toward it immediately. We dyed it, and so she's got like a connection with it, but she threw it every single time. I'm sorry?
Opto Air? Lightweight?
No, it's just a regular fuse. It's a lighter fuse. It's like a 164.
Nice.
But, still.
Yeah, good feeling. And I started playing Ultimate at the same time I started playing disc golf. So it has that kind of taller, ultra star, super class kind of feel. But it is indeed a disc. So yeah, I got some old Jesper Lundmark ones. Name drop. I know we haven't heard that name in a while.
Classy stamp. Yep.
And he helped design it. And I'm learning, he helped design a lot of their discs. So, it's good.
Yep.
So, I don't even carry a straight mid-range because I flipped that up and I carry an overstable mid-range as the next one. So, so much so.
Excellent.
One of my favorite takeaways of that segment is how you called out that dyeing discs is a great hobby for little girls.
It is. And that's
only
it.
little girls.
Well, not only were there some questions submitted via, how's it pronounced? One more time.
Facebook.
We also still have some audio questions left over from the Unstable Discourse Open 2. So let's hear a question from Tim Potter.
This is Tim Potter. I have questions. Are you ever going to make Delwood and Dragons marketable to the masses? Come on, Hasbro.
Ooh.
I would love to see that happen, but that's just me. What do you guys think? Did we successfully, over the course of that 3 episodes, actually create something that would even be marketable? Or was it just this thing that we did that is just stuck?
It would be marketable to the listeners as a commemorative moment in their listening adventure.
Right.
I don't think
which is exactly what
it
was.
Yeah,
it was so unique to that time and that
Absolutely.
experience, and doing it for the first time. Coming down into my basement last year, where Sheila had turned the space into a literal dungeon. With chairs set up like we were a theater and we were putting on a show, was incredible. And all of the little details. I mean, in situations like that, like it's always like, let it be exactly what it was. Could a form of that? I think that's already happening with other people that are doing board games within the industry.
Yeah.
In the forms that it can be. But Delwood and Dragons, in my heart, stays in those times and those memories of knowing that Sheila and Jason were going back and forth with these concepts and these ideas. And then the 3 of us kind of being surprised by them in those moments. So like they were special. Yeah.
The moment that sticks out to me every single time I think about it is when Jason says, for the first time, and because you threw your zone, get in the zone! Auto zone! That is the funniest shit, because we had no idea what the you were going to say. Oh, God. But you can't capture that in recreating the game itself, because you have to listen.
Speaking of, there are times where I get nostalgic for it, and I go back and listen to them, and I laugh every time.
Yeah, sure.
They were so damn funny.
Also, Tim, we talked to Hasbro; they're not into it. So
for sure. Yeah.
For all the things you guys already said, it worked for what it was. There could be a version of it that like local players might enjoy because they would get all the references. But the thing, like Hasbro could never get involved, because ask anybody outside of this area who Lefty Al is. Like, that's part of the fun, is like, oh, we know why that's funny and we know why that's meaningful.
At the end of the day, my hope for that was if a listener heard it and got inspired to create it as a joke with their homies in their scene somewhere else.
Then
it was totally worth it.
We've created the original Heritage Park so that the Mike Conleys of disc golf can create their own Heritage Park.
There you go.
But it is a huge compliment to you, Jason and Sheila, that Tim is the umpteenth person to ask, can you make a version of this that I can play? Like, people liked it so much that you're like steadily getting asked from time to time. Like, Can you make a version of this for me
play?
too?
Yeah.
Can I play?
Yeah.
So I mean, we know why it was great, but for listeners who they weren't here, still acknowledging how great it was, that's really, really cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. I also appreciate, nice segue, Jason, this next question that was submitted via Sergio Estrada.
My name's Sergio Estrada, and my question for the Unstable podcast is, when are we going to get a long course? Let's see some further distances, maybe 500, 700 feet, and let's make it happen.
We did talk about it in the last
couple of
episodes
ago, yeah.
With the new Joliet prison course. I think that is what he's looking for.
Coming sooner than you think, Sergio.
That's what she said.
Yep.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a wrap on our mailbag. So I feel it's only appropriate to zip it back up and put all these straps back on it. So
it was a good thing you took them all off for that. Yeah.
We're good.
It's amazing to me how airtight you get that thing.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It sounded airtight.
No one's getting in or out
anything.
I'm always afraid it's going to pop.
Somehow it manages to make itself airtight.
Somehow I manage.
Somehow I manage. By the way, on that note, since we were going to talk about your trophies, I almost brought a couple of my trophies that had like different stories or meaning to me in some way. And that is, I realized as I looked, because there's only a few trophies on the shelf. The Somehow I Manage Deli is my most cherished trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You will not find that in the woods.
You'll find
Never.
yourself hiding those uncherished ones, though. Maybe.
Amen.
Okay.
Well, Mike, thank you for being here. Like I said earlier, known about you for a long time, but it was really cool to spend some time actually getting to know you. And
Same.
There's so much, what's not to love, you know?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome guest. Thank you for all the work you're doing. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your support. Leave a comment from time to time, scumbags.
Well, they can not only do that on I keep forgetting, how is it pronounced?
We're cutting all this. Yeah,
we're not using that.
Okay.
They can do it on Facebook, but they can also comment right on Spotify. I would love to look and see the people are leaving comments there. So
totally, yeah.
say
If you
whatever
guys
you want.
didn't know that, you can do that, and it does help
Totally
the show get to more listeners.
Absolutely.
Until next time, guys, keep it on the fairway.
See ya.
Y'all be
Peace out.
good.
Don't throw a beat.
Unstable Discourse is produced by Sheila Callahan. Edited by Ryan Fancher. Beats provided by Alex Seminary. And produced in association with Unstable Disc Golf Gear. Look good, feel good, play good.
Unstable Discourse is a Top Secret Studios production. You already know.
Hard to get past the Bush stage.